back to my channel. In this video we are gonna make page 3 and 4, and we are gonna start with March. So you're gonna take the March sheets from the 12 by 12 and also from the 8 by 8. Be careful when you're taking them out of the 8 by 8 so you don't rip the paper. Like so. And the first thing we are going to do is cut off that excess piece of paper with the white strip. And afterwards, we are going to cut out the pieces we need. That was 1. And that was 2. And 3. And 4. And then turn the 12 by 12 design sheet with the bottom up and cut it 8 inches. And then turn it so that the left side is up and cut it again at 8 inches. And we're going to use this sheet for the flip pocket. And we're not going to cut into the 8 by 8 design sheet. We're just going to use it as it is. And the small piece you just cut off, we are going to use for the pocket page. And then we're going to fussy cut some of this, so we're going to save this for later. Then take the 12 by 12 cut apart sheet. And start by cutting off the border on the right side. And then cut down to the bottom of the little square in the right corner. And be careful not to cut too far. And then turn the sheet with the left side up and cut right below the stamps. Then they should be loose when you hit the square. And then you can turn it with the bottom up and cut off the 2 big pieces. And then turn it back so the left is up and cut below the square and the tag. Then cut off these small pieces. Then the sign that says March. Separate the tags from the card. And then separate the tags. And then you can separate these two as well. Then take the 8 by 8 cut apart sheet. Turn it upside down and cut off that piece with the square and the card. And then we are going to use that piece for the pocket page. And then cut off the small border on the right side of the sheet. Turn it with the left side up and cut below the square and the tag. Separate the tag and stamps from the square. And then we're going to separate these two with the trimmer because it's a small piece. Cut off this long strip with the small signs. And then cut off the tags at the bottom. And then we have all the pieces separated, almost. We still need to cut some of the small pieces. Then go to your cardstock and find piece B, C, D, E, F, and G. Fold piece B at the square lines and start inking the edges and the folds on the inside and on the outside. And do this with all of your cardstock pieces and the bigger pieces that we just cut. Find that small piece again with the tag and the stamps from the 8x8 cut apart and cut that in the middle. And ink those two pieces as well. Now I'm gonna take a plastic pocket to put all of these pieces in that I don't need right now. And now we are gonna put all of those pieces together. And this is how the flap is gonna sit, and it's gonna open to the left like this. So you're going to take the 8x8 design sheet and glue that onto the outside of the flap. Take some score tape and put it as close to the edge as possible, all the way around the sheet, and then go over with some strips across. And then go in with your bone folder and burnish all of the tape. Then peel off all of the anti-stick things and get your glue. And fill all of that empty space between the tape and place it carefully on the B piece. Use a cloth to press down the sheet and press out all of those air bubbles. And remember to close your glue. Take the square with the purple edge and the little sign that says March and the D piece from the cardstock and place the square on the D piece. Add your glue or your tape. Use your cloth to wipe off any excess glue and to press out all of those air bubbles. Take a piece of cardstock from your scraps that is big enough for the March sign and add some glue to the sign. Place it so that you can still see a little bit of the white. And if the piece is too big, you could just cut off the excess. Use your cloth to press it down and remove excess glue. And close your glue. Now cut off the excess. And remember to ink the edges. Like so. Then grab your foam tape. I have already cut 3 small pieces that I accidentally put on the wrong piece of paper. So I am gonna add a little glue to make it sticky again. But you're gonna need a piece of foam tape in each end and a piece in the middle. Make sure that they are all pressed down and remove the anti-stick pieces. If you have the little square piece in the middle of your page, place the sign between the bottom of the page and the bottom of the square and press it down. Now take your glossy accents and add it to some of the details. I added it on the small bird and the flowers. And I also added it on the small flowers on the side. And now we can put this away to dry while we make the closure and the inside of the flap. So you're going to take the other square and the C piece. And remember that the square is going to be on the inside and that it's going to open to the right. So you should lay the C piece with the score lines on the left side. Measure 2 1/8 from the closest square line and draw a line with your pencil. Then put some glue on the right side of the pencil marks. And then place the square on top of the C piece, right next to the pencil marks, and make sure that the C piece is in the middle of the square. And when you have it in the right place, make sure to press it down. Remove the pencil mark if it's still visible. And then find the 2 small pieces from the 8x8 cut apart sheet. Those with the tag and the stamps. And we're going to use the B side of those. Add some glue. And lay it up against the square. And press it down. Use a cloth to remove the excess glue. And remember to close your glue. Now we are going to place a magnet on the back of the closure. So you're going to mark up the middle with your pencil. And then to make sure that you turn your magnet the right way, you are going to take the album and it should stick with the magnets from the February page. That way the magnets won't push away from each other and they will have a stronger grip. Then take a small piece of score tape and place it on top of the cross. And place the magnet in the middle of your closure. We are still waiting for the other side of the closure to dry, so in the meantime we are gonna make the flip pocket for the inside of the big flap. So take your E, F and G piece and these two pieces from the 12 by 12 cut apart and this big piece from the 12 by 12 design sheet and cut it right above the bird at the bottom of the piece. We are going to use that for fuzzy cutting. And then measure 2 3/4 from the bottom of the rest of the piece and cut again. And the rest we are going to use for fuzzy cutting as well. Now take that small piece. We are going to use the B side. It's going to be under the little pocket on the inside of the pocket flap. Now let's put together that flip pocket. Fold in the ends at the score lines. Add some glue, one side at a time. And place the E piece on top. Burnish and wipe away the excess glue. Then add your glue to the other side. And press it down. And wipe away excess glue. And now we need to glue the bottom of the pocket together. So you're gonna add a small line of glue right next to the score line. And use your cloth to press it down while wiping away the excess glue. And don't forget to close your glue. And then you have a pocket with a hinge. Now you're going to glue on the card from the cut apart sheet. Add your glue all the way around as close to the edge as possible and fill in that empty space. Make sure the hinge is on the left side and put the card in the middle of the flap. Use your cloth to press it down and wipe away any excess glue. Then turn it around. And if you haven't done it already, you should ink the edges on that small piece. Then add some glue on the back. And put it at the top of the flap. Wipe it down and remove excess glue. Then take your G piece and add a small strip of glue at the bottom and on two sides. and place that on the bottom of the flap. And take your cloth and wipe away from the pocket and remove excess glue. You don't want the glue to go further into the pocket, then you won't have as much room to open. And we need to add a magnet before we glue on this last piece. Make sure the pocket works. And then we're just gonna put this aside for now. Then take that big piece that we cut out from the 12 by 12 design sheet. And we're gonna cut a line on the left side of that sheet. Measure 7/8 of an inch from the edge and also from the top and bottom. I already cut this once with my ruler, but it didn't go all the way through, so I'm just gonna cut again. Now ink the inside of that cut. On both sides. Now this can be a little tricky to get all the way in the corners. Put the hinge of the flap through the hole. And add some glue to that hinge. And press it down. Close your glue and burnish. Then turn it around and find the middle. Exactly like we did it on the small square for the closure. Draw or mark with your pencil. Then turn it and draw another mark. And now you have a cross in the middle of your sheet. Then place a small piece of score tape on that cross. And then take your closure to make sure your magnet is going to face the right way. And place your magnet like so. Now turn it back around and place a magnet on the inside. It should stick to the one in the back. Then add a small piece of tape on the magnet and remove the anti-stick. Now close the pocket flap and your magnet should stick to the pocket. So now you can put on the last piece of paper. Get your glue and add a thin line of glue all the way around the edge and fill that in. And now you can place it on top of the pocket. And press it down. Be careful around the magnet and use a cloth to remove all of the air bubbles and the excess glue. Add a little more glue around the magnet if you need to, and wipe off any excess. And don't forget to close your glue. Now this is what we got so far. Now it's time to make the pocket page. So you'll need piece H, I, and J from the cardstock. Piece H is ready, but you need to fold the I piece at the score lines. And also the J piece on the sides and on the bottom. Then you need to get your oxide and start inking the edges. I am just covering all of that border piece. I'm trying to get the edge a little darker. Be careful not to rip your cardstock while doing this. And then ink the top of the sides. The bottom is not going to show. Then take the J piece and ink all of the score lines. And also the top. Then take these two pieces that we cut out. One is from the 8x8 cut apart sheet and one is from the 12x12 design sheet, and also the strip from the 12x12 cut apart sheet. You're gonna cut that at 8 inches, but this trimmer only measured 6, so I am gonna use this 8 inches piece for measuring. And cut. And be sure to save that small piece you just cut off. Then ink the edges on all 3 pieces. And then you're going to take the H piece and the purple piece from the 8x8. And we're going to put those two together, creating 8x8 inches background. And I am using my media mat measurements to make sure that all of this is straight. You could also draw a line on the cardstock where the purple piece is supposed to be. Burnish with your bone folder. And close your glue. Then take the eyepiece and wrap it around. And make sure that you can't see any of the white cardstock underneath the purple. When you glue down the sides on the back, it might stick out a little at the bottom, but that is okay. Add your glue to the sides. And press it down. And use your bone folder. Make sure that the other side is still straight and haven't moved before you glue that down too. And press that down. Then we're going to add that border strip from the 12x12. Add a small line of glue all around the edge and fill that in. Then press it down, leaving some of the white cardstock on the top. And go over it with your cloth. And touch up with the oxide if you need to. And close your glue. Now we can add the last pocket. So wrap that around. Add your glue to the sides, one at a time. And press it down with your bone folder. Do the same thing with the other side. Add some glue and press it down and go over with your bone folder. And then you're going to do the same thing to the bottom. Add your glue. And press that down. and go over with your bone folder. Now we are going to glue on a magnet, like so. And then we can glue down this piece of paper. Place it in the middle of the pocket, leaving some of the white cardstock on the top and on the bottom. And when you have it in the right place, you can use your cloth to wipe it down, removing all the air and the excess glue. Then get this piece of chipboard and ink the edges. Then get your paper back and another magnet. Make sure your magnet sticks to the one in the pocket. Add a small piece of square tape to that magnet. Remove the anti-stick. And then place your chipboard. Now that your magnet is stuck, you can glue it onto the piece of paper back. Like so. Make sure that there is no air underneath. Then cut out that chipboard. And cut out that hole as well. And now it's time for some fussy cutting. We have these two pieces from the 12 by 12 design sheet. And I think that I'm gonna use the bird for something else and fussy cut this flower. gonna ink the edges on our fussy cut. And I like to use one of these small brushes when I'm inking something with a lot of corners. Remember to wipe off the ink from the media mat. And now we can glue on the fussy cut to the pocket page. So just add a little bit of glue on the right side and on the bottom. So you can still put something behind the flower. And wipe off any excess glue. We're gonna add some glossy accents, so you wanna put something behind the flower so it doesn't get stuck. And if you only wanna add it to some of it, you do that. If you wanna cover the whole thing, you do that. It's totally up to you. But if you don't wanna use glossy accents at all, I recommend that you put some cardstock behind the flower to make it a little less fragile. We're gonna save these last pieces, and when your glossy accents is dry, we can put all of these together. So you're gonna find all of the pieces that you made. We are gonna start with this one, and we are gonna put it on the inside of the flap. So you're gonna take your score tape and you're gonna put a strip of tape on that line we cut for the pocket flap. And then go all the way around the page as close to the edge as possible. And add a few strips across as well. And burnish with your bone folder. Peel off all of the anti-stick pieces. And fill in all of those empty spaces with glue. And then place the page on your flap. Use your bone folder to smooth out all of the glue and remove the air bubbles. Then we're gonna finish the closure. So you're gonna glue this piece onto the other side of the D piece and make sure you don't have it upside down. Burnish with your bone folder and be careful around the magnet. And now glue on this last piece of paper from the 8x8 cut apart. Get your album ready and add your score tape to the hinge of your flap. And be sure that you are as close to the score line as possible without going over. And fill in the space between with glue. And maybe put something hard behind the page to make it easier to burnish. Then take the closure and put on your score tape. Stay onto the front of your page and add your glue. Now press it down and it's gonna stick to where you want it to be. Now we just need the pockets on the inside. So do the same thing. Go around the page with your score tape and add a few strips across. Burnish and get the album ready. Then remove all of the anti-stick pieces and add your glue in all the empty spaces. Then place it in the middle of the page and burnish with your bone folder. And be careful with the flower. So I thought I was recording, but I was not. So I'm just going to show you what I did. I punched out the corners on these and inked the edges. I also inked the tag and the folder. Then separated the stamps and cut this piece from the 8x8 cut apart sheet. And now we are going to use this sticker. And this has a lot of small pieces that we don't want. So maybe use something to poke them out. And then ink the edges. And place it right in the middle of the folder. And make sure you don't have any air underneath. Then ink the edges on the little border strip. Add some glue. And place it at the bottom of the folder. Take one of the stamps and ink the edges on that as well. Then add a little glue and put it in the corner. And now the tag. You're going to take the last piece of border from the 12x12 cut apart sheet and ink the edges. And this square from the 8x8 cut apart sheet. And then ink the rest of the stamps. Then take that little border piece and get your scoreboard. And make some score lines right up against the tag. Now fold in the sides at the score lines. I know we don't have a lot to work with. Slide it on to the bottom of the tag. And glue down the tiny flaps in the back of the tag. Use your bone folder to press them down. And the other side as well. Then add a thin line of glue at the bottom of the border piece. And use your cloth to press it down and wipe away any excess glue. Then take that little square from the 8x8 and add your glue on the back. And place that in the middle of your tag. Press it down with your cloth and remove excess glue. And take a craft tag and add your glue on the back of the die cut tag and put them together. Press it down with your cloth and don't forget to close your glue. Then take 3 stamps and put into that small pocket. And now we are gonna make a little photo mat with some of all these scraps. Save the rest of the small scraps and get your album. Now we are going to put these two stamps in the corner of the closure. And we are going to cut off this little piece. And ink the edges on that small piece as well. Like so. Get your glue and add some to the back of the stamps. Remember not to cover the parts that are going to stick out. Then take your foam tape and cut off two small pieces and put them in the back of that little sign. And place that on the closure as well. Now we just need to fill all the pockets. I am putting the small cards over here behind the flower and the tags under the magnetic chipboard. This card in the big pocket. The tag in the other pocket. The folder in the flip pocket. And this photo mat we made in the small pocket behind. And that's it. That was the third page with March. Now to page 4, and you're going to take the two April sheets from the 12 by 12. And then the two sheets from the 8 by 8. And then you're going to cut off those white strips at the top. Then take the 12 by 12 design sheet and turn it upside down and cut it at 8 inches. And we're going to save the small piece for fussy cutting. Then turn the sheet with the left side up and cut it again at 8 inches. Then take the 12 by 12 cut apart sheet and start by cutting off that border strip. Then cut down to the bottom of that square on the right and be careful not to cut too far. Then turn the sheet and cut the square at the bottom, and you might as well get the tag. Now cut off the stamps and turn the sheet upside down and cut off the other square and the April card. Then this strip and cut off the tags, and then that strip that says April. And then separate these two pieces. Then take the 8 by 8 cut apart and cut it right next to the card and square on the left side, and then cut off the border. Then cut it above the April sign and separate these two. Then cut right above the text and cut off the small pieces with words. Find your cardstock pieces B, C, D, E, F, and G and start folding at the square lines. And then ink the edges on all of the cardstock pieces and all the paper pieces we cut before. Now take this square piece and piece D and the little April sign. Then go to your cardstock scraps and find a piece big enough for that sign. Then glue it down. A thin line of glue as close to the edge as possible all the way around, and then fill that in. And then glue it onto the piece of cardstock. Just a bit from the edge so you can still see the white underneath. Then take your cloth and press out the air bubbles and remove excess glue. And remember to close your glue. And if you have any excess cardstock, then cut that off. And now you just need to ink the edges on the cardstock. And then you're going to take your glossy accents and add it to the small flowers on the April sign. Then you're going to leave that to dry. And then take that square piece for the closure and add your glue. And glue that onto the D piece. Use your cloth to press out the air bubbles and remove excess glue. Then get your glossy accents and add that on the little girl in the closure. I am covering her completely. You don't want it to be runny, so if you add a little too much, you can always remove some by squeezing the bottle and sucking it back in. Like so. And then we are going to put all of this aside to dry. Now we're going to make the pocket page. So you're going to take the strip we cut out from the 8x8 cut apart sheet, and the small piece we cut out from the 12x12 design sheet, and the border strip from the 12x12 cut apart sheet. First we're going to cut the border strip down to 8 inches. And this cutter only measures to 6 inches, so I am just going to borrow this piece for measuring. Then ink the edges on that border strip. We already inked the edges on the other pieces. Then take piece H, I, and J from the cardstock. We're not going to do anything to H, but fold at the square lines on the other pieces and then ink the edges. When inking the I piece, be careful not to rip that border we punched out. I am inking it so it's a little darker on the edge, but I am inking all of the border. Remember to clean so you don't get that oxide everywhere. Then take the H piece and that pink strip, and then we're going to put those together to make a whole 8x8 sheet. And I am using my media mat to measure. When you have your pieces in place, add a line of glue. You can also use score tape if you prefer. Place your design paper on top of the cardstock and make sure that it is straight before you press it down. You can use your bone folder for this, and remember to close your glue. Then take the eyepiece and wrap that around, and make sure you can't see any of the white cardstock underneath the punched border. They don't have to line up perfectly at the bottom. Then add your glue. It doesn't have to lay perfect. And then press that down and use your bone folder to burnish. And then add your glue to the other side and press that down as well and use your bone folder. Now you can put on your border strip, so add a thin line of glue at the edge all the way around and fill that in. Oops. And then place it down underneath the punched out border, leaving a little of the white edge on top. Use your cloth to press that down and remove excess glue. Then take your J piece and wrap that around. Add your glue and press that down. Use your bone folder. And then add your glue to the other side and press that down as well. And use your cloth if you have any excess glue. And then add your glue to the little flap at the bottom and press that down. And use your bone folder and close your glue. Now we need to add that blue piece, but before we do that, we are going to add a magnet underneath. Then take your chipboards. We are going to need a piece for the magnet. I am going to use this piece. And then we are going to do some fussy cutting. And I am going to cut out that nice little blue sign with the flower and the small butterfly. I used a little piece of regular tape to add the butterfly, and then I inked all the edges. So now we are ready to glue it down. I am only adding glue to the flower and the little one I added in the bottom, so you can still slide something behind. And use your cloth to dab off any excess glue. And close your glue. Then you are going to take one of the magnets and add a little piece of square tape where you want your magnet chipboard to be. Burnish and peel off the anti-stick and place your magnet. And now you can go ahead and glue on that last piece. If you have any excess glue, use your cloth to remove it, and then use your bone folder to burnish. Then take a magnet and place it on top of the other one and ink the edges of your chipboard piece. Then take a little piece of score tape and place that on the magnet and peel off the anti-stick, and then place your chipboard. And now the magnet should stick to the chipboard. Then you're going to find your paper bag and glue the magnet chipboard onto the paper bag. Press it down and make sure that you get all of those air bubbles out. And then use your scissors to cut it out of the paper bag. And then the page is almost done. We just need to add some glossy accents. And make sure that you have something behind so it doesn't stick together. I'm only adding glossy accents to the butterfly and the small flowers. And now it's done. We can just leave this aside to dry. And then we're gonna make the little pocket flap. So you're gonna take piece E, F, and G from the cardstock, and the April calendar card, and the little piece from the 8x8 cut apart sheet. We're gonna make the little piece into a pocket. So we're gonna make something to put behind it so it's not just cardstock. On the other pages I used a piece from the 12x12 design sheet, but because the piece I have left has such a pretty flower that I don't want to cut into, I am gonna puzzle something together. So I am taking some of the small scraps I have left, and then maybe I am gonna use something from the cut apart sheets. I'm gonna take this strip and cut off a piece from that. So now I have these 3 small pieces. That blue one is from the 12x12 design sheet, and I am gonna cut off some small squares to put at the end of the little sign I just cut off. And this piece is all I'm going to use, and the other one is going in my little bag of scraps. I'm gonna cut this into 2 small pieces as wide as my little sign. And then I'm gonna put these 3 pieces together with some score tape. And after, I'm gonna cut off the ends. And I am pushing my pieces together while adding the tape. And then going in with my bone folder. And then I'm gonna make sure that all the pieces are aligned. So I am just cutting off a teeny tiny strip of paper. And the same thing on the other side. And then I'm cutting it down to 4 inches. And then I'm taping it together with this piece. And again I am pushing the pieces together while I am adding the tape. And then I'm gonna cut off that excess part. And I'm putting that little piece in my bag of scraps. So this is what I ended up with. Now that we have all of our pieces, we can put it all together. We just need to ink the edges. Take piece E and F and put them together like this. The big flap is gonna be our hinge, so you are not gonna glue that one down. Add a little glue on one side. And put your E piece on top. And when you're sure it's straight, then press it down. And use your cloth to remove excess glue. And then you're gonna add some glue to the other side. And press that down. And remove excess glue. Then add a thin line of glue on the inside of the pocket as close to the edge as possible. And use your towel to press that down. Wipe away from the pocket and maybe touch up with your oxide if you need to. And then we are going to take that piece we puzzled together before and make sure that your pocket is with the hinge on the left side. Remove all of those anti-stick pieces And add your glue and place it on the top of the flap. And use your bone folder to burnish, especially at all the seams. And use your cloth to remove excess glue. Then you're going to take your G-piece and add a thin line of glue on the sides and on the bottom. And then place it at the bottom of your flap. And use your cloth to press it down and try to wipe away from the pocket so the glue doesn't get pressed into the pocket. And then you're going to take that April calendar card and add your glue and then place that on the other side of your flap. Make sure you don't have it upside down. Then press it down and use your cloth to remove excess glue. Make sure you have a surface you can cut on and then take that piece from the 12 by 12 design sheet. We're going to cut a line on the right side of the sheet. I like to flip mine over while cutting. You're going to cut 7/8 from the edge and from the top and bottom. And then you're going to have a hole big enough to put your flap through. Ink the edges and get as close to the corners as you can. I know it's not that easy. Then get your flap and put the hinge through the hole. And my phone apparently decided to stop recording, so I'm just going to pause this for a minute. You're going to glue your hinge down on the back of your sheet. Then place a magnet right in the middle, also on the back of your sheet. Then place another magnet on the other side and make it stick to the pocket flap with a small piece of square tape. And then you can glue on that little piece from the 8x8 cut apart sheet that says April on top, and that is also going to cover up the magnet. I am so sorry for this, and I hope that it made sense to you. And now we can make all of the inserts. So you're going to take a folder, a die cut tag, and the 2 April calendar cards that we made together, and take those cards and punch out the corners with your 4mm corner punch. And then ink all of the edges. Remember to ink the cards and the folder on both sides. Then you're going to take all of your scraps and small pieces, and you're going to find the one with the stamps from the 12 by 12 cut apart sheet and separate the little word strip from all of the stamps. And then separate the stamps. Then you're going to take this sticker, ink the edges, and place that sticker in the middle of your folder, like so. Then take the border strip from the 8x8 cut apart sheet and cut it down so it fits the folder. Then ink the edges. And take one of the stamps and ink the edges on that as well. Then take one of those small word signs and cut it out and ink the edges on that too. And glue down the border strip at the bottom of the folder. Like so. And wipe off any excess glue with your cloth. Then add some glue to your stamp and place that a little crooked in the right corner. And then glue down your little word sign on the left of your sticker and dab on that with your cloth to remove excess glue. Then put in your calendar cards, and that one is finished. Now let's move on to the tag. Take the rest of the border from the 12 by 12 cut apart sheet and the little square from the 8 by 8 cut apart sheet and 3 stamps and ink the edges on everything. Then take your scoreboard and the little piece of border. Place your die cut tag in the middle of your border and score the border up against the tag. Then fold it at the square lines and wrap it around the tag. Add a little glue to the tiny flaps from the border and use your bone folder to press them down. Same thing on both sides. Then add a thin line of glue at the bottom of the border on the inside so you can create a small pocket. And then press that down. Use your cloth and wipe away from the pocket. Get a craft tag and start adding some glue to the back of your die cut tag. Then place the die cut tag on top of your craft tag and use a cloth to press it down, removing all of the air bubbles and the excess glue. And then take that little square piece and add some glue and place that in the middle of your tag and wipe it down with your cloth and put your little stamps in the pocket. And now that is finished. Now we are going to take the tags from the 12 by 12 cut apart sheet, and this one we are going to cut off those corners. Then we're going to separate these. And we are going to punch off the corners on this one with our 4mm punch. And we are not going to do anything to the card. Then we're going to separate these three. And we're going to save that pink one for the front of the page together with the stamps. And then we're going to try to puzzle something together with these last pieces we have left. So instead of covering up the whole piece of cardstock, I am adding some lines at the bottom so you have something to journal on. Don't punch off the corners on this little sign. I'm gonna regret it and cut it off. Just ink the edges and continue inking the edges on everything. You can choose to ink the edges on both sides, but I am just inking them on one side for now. So now we just need to put the last pieces together to make the page. And everything with glossy accents is dry. So we're gonna start by making the closure. So you're gonna add your glue to the back of that square piece with the magnet. And then place it on the D piece. And remember not to turn it upside down. Use your cloth to press out all the air bubbles. And close your glue. Now you're gonna get your album and take your score tape and your flap and add your score tape onto the hinge of your flap. A strip as close to the edge as possible and a strip as close to the score line as possible without going over. Use your bone folder to burnish and then get your album ready. Peel off the anti-stick pieces and add your glue in the empty space. And then place your flap on the edge of the page and burnish with your bone folder. You can be aggressive with this so it's never gonna fall off. And then you're gonna take your closure and do the same thing. Add some score tape as close to the score line as possible and a piece at the edge. Place the closure off the anti-stick page and add some glue. And then close down the flap and the closure should stick to the album. Go in with your bone folder and burnish and maybe put something hard behind the page so it's easier. And if you haven't done it already, then glue on this small piece of design paper. And use your cloth to press it down and remove any excess glue. Take the stamps and that little pink Easter sign and then get your foam tape. Cut off 2 small pieces of foam tape and place them in the back of that little pink Easter sign. Peel off the anti-stick and then place it on the closure and press it down. Then take your stamps and add some glue to the back. And remember, if your stamps are gonna stick out a little, then don't add glue to the parts that are gonna stick out. And place them in the corner, high cat. Then take the April sign and cut off 3 pieces of foam tape. 1 for each end and 1 for the middle. Then peel off the anti-stick pieces and place the sign in between the bottom of the page and the square in the closure, and press down on all of the pieces of foam tape. Now we only need to add the last piece of the page, which is the pockets. Take your score tape and add your tape as close to the edge as possible all the way around, and then add a few strips across. And use your bone folder to burnish. Then peel off all of the anti-stick strips and fill in the empty spaces with glue. And then place that piece in the middle of your page. Use your bone folder to press it down. And then take your inserts. I'm going to place these 2 behind this pocket here. And then I'm going to take the 2 tags and place them behind my magnetic chipboard. I'm going to put this card behind here in the big pocket. And the tag I'm going to put in the front pocket. And these 2 are going in my flip pocket. And that is it for now. In my next video we are going to make page 5 and 6. So please subscribe and click the bell to be notified. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.